Some of y'all will remember that I didn't go through the American Baptist Churches USA for my ordination like Reverend Jamal and Dr. Rane. I have a local ordination. Imani Community Church ordained me to serve Imani Community Church. You all supported me on my journey from being licensed in 2012 to being ordained in 2018. And I'm privileged to be able to support the congregation during this transitional period because I was ordained to serve you. Getting back here so that I would be able to serve you was more difficult than I had imagined. Maybe I shouldn't say that it was more difficult. I think there were just difficulties that I didn't anticipate. Some stuff I was ready for, but that 2,500-mile road trip, most of it was pretty uneventful, but those 300 miles between Albuquerque and Flagstaff, I'm gonna just say that God still hears and answers prayer. The text for today comes from the book of Exodus in the Hebrew Bible. I'm using the Common English Bible translation, where the 13th chapter of Exodus, verses 17 through 22 read, "When Pharaoh let the people go, God didn't lead them by the way of the land of the Philistines, even though that was a shorter route. God thought, if the people have to fight and face war, they will run back to Egypt. So God led the people by the roundabout way of the Reed Sea Desert. The Israelites went up out of the land of Egypt ready for battle. Moses took with him Joseph's bones, just as Joseph had made Israel's sons promise when he said to them, 'When God takes care of you, you must carry my bones out of here with you.' They set out from Sukkoth and camped at Etham on the edge of the desert. The Lord went in front of them during the day in a column of cloud to guide them, and at night in a column of lightning to give them light. This way they could travel during the day and at night. The column of cloud during the day and the column of lightning at night never left its place in front of the people." The King James Version says, "He took not away the pillar of the cloud by day, nor the pillar of fire by night from before the people." May the Lord bless the reading, hearing, living, and doing of God's holy word. I praise God for being a cloud, fire, lightning, or as David says, our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. So the scene where God is leading the people through the wilderness by way of the Reed Sea Desert or the Red Sea, this is after God tells Moses to tell the Israelites in Exodus 6 through 8, "I am the Lord. I'll bring you out from Egyptian forced labor. I'll rescue you from your slavery to them. I'll set you free with great power and with momentous events of justice. I'll take you as my people, and I'll be your God. You will know that I, the Lord, am your God, who has freed you from Egyptian forced labor. I'll bring you into the land that I promised to give to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I'll give it to you as your possession. I am the Lord." This is after God sent 10 plagues to terrorize Pharaoh and the Egyptians, and after Pharaoh called from Aaron and Moses in Exodus 12, 31, 32, and told them, "Get up, get away from my people, both you and the Israelites. Go, worship the Lord as you said. You can even take your flocks and herds as you asked. Just go and bring a blessing on me as well." Quick side note, we are looking at the African presence in Scripture at Wednesday night Bible study this month. And you know there were some North Africans that followed God into the wilderness along with the children of Israel, right? Because we've always been a part of the story. And where we pick up the story in the wilderness is after they've been delivered from slavery, but before they crossed the Red Sea. Now, I'm not saying those 300 miles between Albuquerque and Flagstaff were like being in the Egyptian wilderness after 430 years of slavery. I'm just saying it wasn't as easy as it was when we drove from California to Atlanta 2 summers ago. I had pretty much planned to take the same reverse route, driving I-40 all the way. You know, I checked the weather forecast for each of the cities we were going to spend the night in, and everything looked good a week out. A few days before we set out, I was talking to my mother, and she was like, "You know it's supposed to snow in Arizona." I didn't think much of it. I just decided to keep my eyes on it. It was in the back of my mind when we left Atlanta, but our trip was so easy up until Albuquerque. Like Brandon drove from Atlanta to Birmingham, and after we left his mother's house on Sunday, we made a quick stop in Memphis to see my god brother Ivan and spent the night in Little Rock. Stopped by a dog park in Oklahoma City on the MLK holiday and spent the night in Amarillo, Texas. When I woke up in Amarillo that Tuesday morning, I pulled up Google Maps to get the directions to our hotel in Flagstaff, Arizona, and a winter storm warning popped up for northern Arizona. Nothing really specific, and I already expected a little snow, so we loaded the car back up, buckled our 2-year-old German short-haired pointer Nubia in the back seat, and headed for Albuquerque, which was about the halfway point between Amarillo and Flagstaff. There was a dog park near the freeway, and I wanted to let Nubia stretch her legs again because she wasn't used to hotel life and only going outside on a leash. And I had planned on driving for about 9 hours that day, so we needed a break. It was raining when we got to Albuquerque, but Nubia was having a ball playing fetch in the rain, and there was a shelter in the dog park for me, so we stayed out there a little while. She likes it when she has the park to herself because as much as she loves humans, she does not like other dogs. Anyway, after playing in the rain for way longer than I wanted to, we set out on the last 4.5 hours of our journey to Flagstaff. I pulled up Google Maps again, and that winter storm warning was still staring me in my face. But we were on the road now. What was I going to do, turn back? Having had some time to reflect, I could have avoided Flagstaff and headed south to Phoenix instead, but for whatever reason, winter storm warning didn't translate into record-breaking winter storm for me. But my mama didn't raise no fool. I posted the winter storm warning on Facebook with a request for the saints to pray, and then I started driving. After about half an hour of rain coming out of Albuquerque, it got sunny again. Ding! That was a Facebook notification that popped up on my phone. Every time my phone dinged and there was a Facebook notification, I knew somebody was praying for us. That first ding was Dr. Rane praying for us. And I was like, look at God. Blue skies and dry roads. Storm where? After about another hour of driving, we found ourselves near Blue Water Lake State Park in Pruitt, New Mexico. Blue Water Lake State Park is in the Zuni Mountains at an elevation of 7,400 feet. So we're in the Zuni Mountains and it's snowing. And when I say it was snowing, I mean it was snowing. Like the wind is blowing the snow sideways and it was coming down hard. Like if you remember the movie The Shining, the original with Jack Nicholson and Shelley Duvall, there was a part when Scatman Crothers' character, Dick Halloran, is trying to get back to the Overlook Hotel to save the little boy Danny and his mother. And he has to drive through a blizzard in the mountains to get to the snowplow that's going to get him there. That's how I felt. Like Scatman Crothers driving through a blizzard in The Shining. I was just trying not to die. Ding! Lisa is praying for us. It was snowing so hard that I couldn't see the lines on the highway. I couldn't see the sides of the road. All I could see was white. The windshield wipers were on high speed because the snow was coming down so fast and so hard. But I saw this big purple truck that wasn't pulling a trailer, taking its time in the right lane. And the tracks being left behind by those big tires were all I could see in the snow ahead of me. So I decided to just follow in its tracks. Hands at 10 and 2, just like in driver's training. I was gripping the wheel tight. It was like that carnival ride for the little kids where it's like you're driving the car, but there's a metal rail in the middle of the track keeping you from going off the road. Well, that's what I felt like driving on this mountain in the snow, gliding back and forth across the freeway. Only there was ice in the middle of the lane between the tire tracks instead of a metal rail. And I knew that if I veered a little too far over and hit that ice, it was going to be curtains for us. That was the first time the traction control warning light flashed on the dashboard. Ding! Terrence is praying for us. And I didn't even tell y'all that we were driving our 2013 Chrysler 200 Misty. And right before we left Alabama, my brother-in-law looked at the car and told Brandon something about it needing a new tire. And I was like, we just picked it up from the service center at the dealership. They knew we were getting ready to drive cross country. They fixed the electrical problem that had all the gauges and lights acting crazy and the car shutting off while you were driving. They fixed the power steering. He got a new alternator and a new battery. We gave him like $3,000 and they didn't say nothing about no tires. And I really didn't have time on Sunday afternoon to be getting a new tire in Birmingham because I was trying to be out of Mississippi and onto the main highway before it got dark. But sliding around on that snow-capped New Mexico mountain, I was thinking about that tire. Ding! Malcolm is praying for us. We got out of that snowstorm after what seemed like forever. The weather cleared up for a stretch, and as we were driving due west, just as the sun was setting, I noticed how dirty the snow had made the windshield. The light from the sun was bouncing off the ice and the dirty snow, and it was blinding me. And I didn't tell y'all that my eye doctor just told me in December that I had early stage cataracts and I might start having light sensitivity and cloudy vision and stuff. But I could still see that purple truck in front of us. And my Facebook notifications kept dinging. Ding! Uncle Tito was praying for us. It got good again for a while, clear skies and dry roads. I was like, do you think that was it? Was that the winter storm they warned us about? Whew, Lord, we made it. But about an hour before we pulled into Flagstaff, we could see these dark clouds hovering in front of us. Like, you could see past one set of snow-capped mountains to a set of mountains shrouded in darkness. And we were headed straight for it. I saw a sign that said Flagstaff, elevation 6,000 feet. And it got darker and darker. And the snow started to get heavier and heavier. And I was still following that purple truck, gripping the wheel so tight that my hands kept going numb. Then Gigi is praying for us. And I was trying to communicate to Brandon how serious this thing was without freaking him out, because I was already freaking out on the inside. And this snow, it was kind of like, it was the kind of snow when they tell you on the morning news not to drive, but if you must drive, you should have snow tires or chains or something. And I'm thinking not just about that one tire that my brother-in-law said needed to be replaced. Now here we are in this record-setting winter storm, and all I can picture is 4 bald tires sliding down this icy mountain road and us in a ditch somewhere until the storm ends and rescuers can get to us. Ding! Miss Sharon is praying for us. So we're following the purple truck, and I'm like, babe, I'm sliding on this ice. And he's not really saying anything because, what are you going to say? Babe, I can't see anything. But I'm trying to keep it calm. Like, I want to cry, but I'm holding it together. Because I've got my husband and my dog driving through a blizzard at the top of a mountain in this raggedy car, and I'm just trying to get to my parents. Ding! Cheryl is praying for us. Originally, we had planned to stop for gas after about 2 hours of driving, but I was like, where? Really ain't much between Albuquerque and Flagstaff. And at some point, I was scared to stop. I was like, if we stop, I don't know if we'll be able to go again. And I don't want to lose this purple truck. So we kept going on that tank of gas that we got in Santa Rosa, New Mexico, before we even got to Albuquerque. Like, Lord Jesus, make it enough. Ding! Honey D is praying for us. We followed that purple truck until about a quarter mile from our exit when another truck got in between us. But I could still see the purple truck ahead of us. That purple truck led us through storms and rain all the way to where we needed to go. And then that purple truck had someplace else to go, so we went our separate ways. But when the GPS said it was time to exit the freeway, I was like, babe, can you see the exit? Babe, look for the exit because I can't see. I can't risk taking my eyes off the road long enough to see an exit. Ding! Sweet Pea is praying for us. The exit was covered in snow, and the snow had covered any tire tracks that used to be there, and I was just like, I don't believe he brought me this far to leave me. I was so happy that I booked hotels right by the freeway for every city we stopped in. We had less than a quarter mile from the exit to the hotel, and I could kind of see the streets in Flagstaff, so I was feeling pretty good. I finally started breathing normally again, because I had to keep reminding myself to breathe the whole way there. I was gripping the wheel and holding my breath without even realizing it. And holding your breath at high altitudes when you're stressed out is really like a recipe for disaster. And I didn't tell y'all that this was my first time driving in snow. Ding! Lady Thea is praying for us. Y'all, the way the brakes were slipping and the tires were sliding on those Flagstaff streets, and the traction control warning light was flashing on the dashboard, but we made it. That last left turn into the hotel parking lot sat Brandon straight up. I didn't know you weren't supposed to hit the brakes when you turn in the snow. So we slid right into some bushes on a snow-covered street corner. Ding! Sheila is praying for us. Somehow we didn't get stuck in the snowbank, so I slid Misty into a snow-covered parking space in front of our hotel and prayed that we'd be able to get out of it the next day. Now, I'm not saying that those 300 miles between Albuquerque and Flagstaff were like being in the Egyptian wilderness after 430 years of slavery. I'm just saying that the whole way there, what the Spirit kept at the top of my mind was that pillar of cloud and that pillar of fire. I was terrified, but when the sun was shining and I could see the purple truck, that was my pillar of cloud by day. And when all I could see was the tire tracks because it was dark and it was snowing too hard to see the purple on the truck, that was my pillar of fire by night. Ding! Gail is praying for us. The Lord led the children of Israel with a pillar of cloud and a pillar of fire. The cloud contrasted with the sunlight so it was visible during the day. The fire made for a sure point of reference, something to follow when we can't see the way. We all need something to follow. We all need guidance in life. Even if you think you have it all together, remember that even after the children of Israel had been delivered, they still needed guidance. They still needed direction, and God provided. There's a Swahili proverb that says, Chombo cha kuzama hakina usukani. It means a sinking vessel needs no navigation. In other words, it doesn't help to intervene in a hopeless situation because it's hopeless. But if you believe in God, you know that your situation is never hopeless. God intervened in the lives of a hopeless, clueless, wandering people. And I'm talking about the children of Israel, not Imani. God was their navigator. They had to follow God. Without God's guidance through the wilderness, there's no way that they could have made it to the promised land. I may have had visions of a multi-vehicle pileup on a snowy interstate, but I knew my situation in the mountains of New Mexico and Arizona wasn't hopeless because I know God. Ding! Midge is praying for us. When we think about this Exodus story, we tend to think of it like it was described by the prophets Hosea, Jeremiah, and Ezekiel as the event that created the Israelite people and forged their bond with God. They knew who they had to depend on. They knew who they had to follow. The question for us is, do we know? Do you know? The Hebrews had the advantage of actually hearing God and experiencing all of the supernatural manifestations of God. We usually don't get that. So we need wisdom to discern the will of God. We need to get to know God. We need to have a personal relationship with God. And to help us do that, God gave God's Son, Jesus. For the Apostle Paul, the pillar of cloud and the fire is all tied up in Jesus. In one of his letters to the Corinthians, as recorded in 1 Corinthians chapter 10, Paul says, I do not want you to be ignorant, brothers and sisters, that our ancestors were all under the cloud and all passed through the sea, and all were baptized into Moses in the cloud and in the sea, and all ate the same spiritual food and all drank the same spiritual drink. For they drank from the spiritual rock that followed them, and the rock was Christ. Today, y'all, Jesus is our pillar of cloud and fire. From where we are now to where we're going, how to get there means following Jesus every step of the way. We've got to follow the leader. Jesus is the one we have to follow if we're going to make it, Imani, as an unapologetically Black, unashamedly Christian community that claims to have faith to change the world. We've got to follow the leader. We've got to follow the leader who taught us to love our neighbors like he loves us, Jesus. We've got to follow the leader who told us to love our enemies, Jesus. We've got to follow the leader who taught us to forgive others, Jesus. We've got to follow the leader who taught us to serve others, Jesus. We've got to follow the leader who taught us to have faith in God, Jesus. We've got to follow the leader. In the next chapter of 1 Corinthians, in chapter 11, Paul tells the folks who are seeking his guidance and trying to follow him, be imitators of me as I am of Christ. What that says to me is, when I'm getting it right and doing good as a leader, when I'm working and loving and praying like Jesus, then follow me. But when I'm not walking in Jesus' footsteps, I don't want you to follow me. I'm trying to follow Jesus, but I don't always get it right. So only follow me in as much as I follow Jesus. If I get off track, keep your eye on the prize. Follow the leader. Follow the leader who served the poor, Jesus. Follow the leader who fed the hungry, Jesus. Follow the leader who washed his disciples' feet, Jesus. Follow the leader who healed the sick and raised the dead, Jesus. Follow the leader who turned the other cheek, Jesus. Follow the leader who flipped over tables in the temple courts, Jesus. Follow the leader who spoke truth to power, Jesus. Follow the leader who was betrayed by someone he thought was a friend, Jesus. Follow the leader who was tried and convicted on trumped-up charges by a system designed to prop up those with power and privilege and oppress the most marginalized communities, Jesus. Follow the leader who gave his life so that we might have life and have it more abundantly, Jesus. Follow the leader who was violently lynched publicly to terrorize the people who followed him and buried in a borrowed tomb, but rose on the third day with all power in his hands, Jesus. Follow the leader. Follow the leader, Imani. Follow the leader. Imani. I followed that purple truck for as long as that purple truck was around to lead me. But my journey wasn't over just because the purple truck had its own journey. Our paths crossed for a good long time, and when it was time for the purple truck to go that way and for me to go that way, the road conditions hadn't changed. I still couldn't see the road or the exit. Ding! Murtis is praying for us. We still had some place to go, and I got a little nervous because the purple truck that I had been following the whole way, the purple truck that had kept me safe, the purple truck that had guided me, the purple truck that I looked to for direction was gone. We still had another 725 miles to get home, at least another hour's worth of driving to get off that icy mountain the next day. And the purple truck was gone. Ding! Auntie Janie was praying for us. The thing is, it was just a truck. I was following a purple truck, but it was God who was leading me. God placed the purple truck where I needed it to be for the time that I needed it. The purple truck was not God. The purple truck was not the leader I was following, because God was with us for our entire journey. Because God is with us for our entire journey. That's the promise. The children of Israel had been following Moses, but when it was Moses' time to go, God gave them Joshua to lead them. Deuteronomy 31 says, "Then Moses went out and spoke these words to all Israel. I am now 120 years old, and I am no longer able to lead you. The Lord has said to me, you shall not cross the Jordan. The Lord your God himself will cross over ahead of you. He will destroy these nations before you, and you will take possession of their land. Joshua also will cross over ahead of you, as the Lord said." The deal is, the people were just following men who were doing their best to follow God. God was always the leader. The goal was never to follow the man in leadership. The goal was always to follow God's lead. We can get caught up trying to follow men. That's why so many folks have left the church, because men will always fall short. But my God can do anything but fail. And Imani, you will not fail. We will not fail as long as we follow the leader. There's a hymn that says, lead me, guide me along the way. For let me walk each day with thee. Lead me, oh Lord, lead me. Lead me, guide me along the way. Oh, you lead me, I cannot stray. Lord, let me walk each day with thee. Lead me, oh Lord, lead me. Amen. Follow the leader, Imani. Follow the leader.